thank you all for joining me. For those of you who may not know me, I am the Garden Goddess, and this is our energy forecast actually for September of 2025. Normally I would be dolled up and dressed up and not in my scrubs, but I have been busy. Life has been lifing, and you are very important to me. I just want to be sure I got this video out to you. So, apologies for my work uniform. I guess you know my tea now, girl. Your girl works in healthcare. So, anyway, I found that this month was very, 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 very important. The message and the downloads I've been getting for this month have been very, very imperative. And so, although life has been lifing and my schedule has been crazy, I found it super important that these messages that I've been getting in my ears left and right, I found them really important to be shared. And so, if that sounds right, if you are excited to hear the messages for September, please get comfortable, take a deep breath, tune into your body, tune into the container for the energy forecast, and let's delve deep into the divine downloads for September. And I will see you inside. Okay, so let's jump right into the downloads. And so there's a few different things that are happening in this particular month. And one of the things that is happening is the great transition, right? One of the great transitions that is happening is the transition from summer to fall. And in this transition, there is the seasons changing, which is usually happening with our foods, what we're craving is changing. Our changes of emotions are happening during this time. Also in business, we're in the last quarter. I think usually this happens around October. You're in that last quarter of the month. Also, we're transitioning into the holiday season. And then we're also in like the great lock-in astrologically, what is going on. But collectively, we're also engaging into a deeper consciousness, which is craving for something more. And that's what I am picking up on. And I'm actually going to be referring to my notes for this. And so, what I've been picking up on for September is that collectively there's been a deep struggle for facing harsh realities of this current state while looking towards optimism or an optimistic path. And so the reoccurring theme that I've been getting for the month of September is about letting love in. And that's something that's going to be really, really big this month. And so letting love in is more so about allowing yourself to feel the weight that you're carrying so that you can not only have the emotional relief that you maybe have been dealing with or been craving as you've been getting ready for further transitions, but for an opportunity to release this off of your shoulders. And so this build up into the fall, there has been a lot of stress that the collective consciousness and the collective body has been carrying leading up into September. It could be a political flight that has been occurring, the emotional state that we've all been facing with, but collectively, we've all been carrying our individual stressors as well as our collective stressors that we've been engaging with online, consciously and subconsciously, that has been leading up to emotional fatigue, emotional wounding, trigger points, pain pockets. And it's leading us to our bodies holding this collective stress. And it's allowing us to almost wait for an impeding doom. And so, this discomfort that has been happening, although we don't have to carry it, has been causing us to, instead of rejoice for this transition into fall, which would normally be what we would be doing during this time. Fall is about, engaging into the harvest, into the fruits of our labor, and that's usually what we're doing during this time. Fall is all about reaping the fruits of your hard work. Fall is all about celebrating harvest. It's a harvesting season. It doesn't seem like that's what's happening in our collective body. We're not in a celebratory mood. We're not even in a celebratory state. It's actually the opposite. Most of us are entering into this transitional season, in this harvest celebratory season, actually more fatigued than ever before. Most of us are entering into this state not as optimistic, more burdened, more stressed, more anxious, more worried, more scared, probably than we ever have been, or more than we've have been in a long time. And that is the energy that I seem to be picking up for this month. And so a lingering anxiety that exists will continue to leak in all areas of our lives that include the areas that used to grant us the most peace. So, right now, what we seem to be experiencing collectively is that everyone is worried and bracing for impact. And so, this reminds me actually of a YouTube video that I was watching on car accidents, which actually reminds me of my job, which I'm glad I'm in theme, which is um and there's irony in this, is when a lot of people get into car accidents, the people that come in to the emergency room with the most damage, this is a theory, by the way, the people that come into the room with the most damage are usually the ones that tightened up and were bracing for impact because they were scared. Obviously, they were worried. They were thinking and bracing for their impeding doom in the car accident. But the ones that were usually causing the car accident, the ones that were inebriated, the ones that were usually the dummies, right, that weren't even supposed to be driving, that could have been, you know, that could have been at home doing what they were doing. But the ones that usually walk away without a scratch or with the least amount of damage don't have as much damage to their body because their body was loose, because their mind was so inebriated that they weren't consciously aware of what was coming, so their body wasn't bracing for the impact, meaning their body was just going with whatever was coming its way. So it was hit. So when impact hit, the body was just flowing with it, right? And there's irony in that, which I hate as a type A personality. But there's irony in that because even in life, I've experienced when we are overly preparing for something, overly, extending ourselves and trying so hard to make sure that nothing bad happens to us, and something happens that we couldn't have prepared for. And it seems like no matter how much we prepared for it, we still couldn't have prepared for the thing that happened to us. And then the person that just never prepares for anything, somehow just has luck on their side and things just work out for them. There's irony in that. There's irony in the people that want to control everything. And there's irony in the people that just leave things to life. Even when they're being foolish, even when they're being stupid, right? Now, that doesn't mean be a dummy. That doesn't mean drink and drive. That doesn't mean don't prepare for life. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be vigilant. This is to say that when we lean into our fears, when we desperately hold on to them, because at the time we feel like that's all we know and that's all we have, we're leaning into the comfort of fear because there's familiarity in them. And when we loosen our grips and we allow life to have its way with us, it requires a bandwidth that some of us, that many of us are not ready and not willing to endure yet. So the transition that life is asking for many of us to have right now, the transition from summer to fall, the transition from our old lives to our new lives is asking for us to have a bandwidth, especially in this season, that we may not have. And it requires us to have a level of faith and let go a level of fear that we have been holding on to for a long time. And it requires us to let go of a conditioning that we have had for years in the making that we may not be ready to let go of. And that requires reshaping our minds. There's a book that's called Retrain Your Anxious Brain that I recommend if you're someone that's chronically anxious. It requires us to train our nervous system if you're someone that is trying to timeline jump or trying to prepare yourself for the next step. But if you are someone that hasn't been doing that level of training in your body for that next step, you're not equipped and you're not ready to do that leap. So to transition yourself into this next timeline, in between leaving the old and having the courage to take on the new, the in between is embracing the now and loving yourself through. And that's the theme for September of letting love in. That helps you transition. September is about helping you transition to the next step. And that's helping guide you to that next step. And if you're someone that doesn't have the courage, that doesn't have all the tools yet, that needs a little more guidance, that needs some hand holding, the way you do that is by letting love lead, letting love in. And how you do that is through finding comfort in your friendships, having a more comforting home life, cherishing those smaller moments and fully immersing yourself in divine presence. And you enjoy every bit, every bite, every sip of your coffee, every snack that you enjoy, every stroll that you take, you get more present in your body, more present in each moment, and you begin to cherish life more, and you find comfort in your relationships. And once you do that, you begin to titrate your nervous system to withstand the disappointments and the heartbreaks of life. And this is the medicine of building resilience. So, walking this path all alone is not the way anymore. It's finding ways to build capacity that is the new way. So the capacity to endure, the capacity to build, the capacity to be, and the capacity to ultimately become. So this is the divine plan, and this is the new plan for your new timeline. And that is the divine downloads for September. And so when I got that download, I was like, wow, wow. And it was something. It was something special. Um, and it was so special that I'm not even gonna do a reading. I'm not even gonna do a reading from the garden because this was the medicine for the month of September. Um, and so my hope and my prayer to you this month is that you're able to find comfort in love and that you're able to get present in this month, that you're able to find guidance in this month, and that September brings you the juice that you need to be nourished, to be held, to be seen, to be heard, so that you can become the man or woman you are destined and designed to be. And so please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see you all in my next video, which is very, very, very soon. All right. Talk later.